The silence in the ballroom was absolute. You could have heard a pin drop in another state. All those eager, calculating faces, Tyler's smug triumph, Regina's cold disapproval, the manager's panic, froze. Then, they slowly cracked, revealing the confusion and shock underneath. My son Lucas wiped his cream-smeared face on his sleeve, ruining the Balenciaga pajamas I'd told him 100 times not to play in, and clung to my leg. "I'm sorry, Dad. The cake looked really good." I placed a hand on his head, my eyes never leaving the manager. "You were saying? About arresting the thief?" The manager's face cycled through shades of purple and white. He looked from me to Lucas, to my wrinkled but undoubtedly real sleepwear, and then to the security guards who had frozen mid-step. He made a sound like a choked engine. Mr. Brown, there's been a terrible misunderstanding, sir. We were just concerned for the young master's safety. His safety was fine until your waiter started screaming and your guests tried to use him as a networking opportunity," I said flatly. I looked at the waiter who was now trembling. "You still think I stole these?" No, sir. Never, sir. I'm so sorry, sir." Tyler was the first to break from his stupor, his handsome face contorted. "Brown? You're a Brown? Since when?" The name seemed to physically pain him. Regina just stared. Her eyes were wide, uncomprehending, darting between my face and Lucas's. Her perfect composure was shattered. "A son? You have a son? You're married?" Her voice was a whisper, but in the quiet room, it echoed. "For 8 years," I confirmed, my voice calm. I didn't owe her an explanation, but the facts were simple. "Lucas, this is Regina, an old friend of mine from college." Lucas peeked out from behind my leg. He had his mother's curious eyes and her brutal honesty. "The lady who was being mean to you?" A few stifled gasps came from the crowd. Regina flinched as if slapped. "Lucas," I said gently, but firmly, "manners." He sighed, the long-suffering sigh of a 7-year-old forced to be polite. "Nice to meet you," he mumbled, not meaning a word of it. The manager finally found his voice again, bowing so low I thought he might tip over. "Mr. Brown, please accept our deepest apologies. The hotel will of course compensate you for this unforgivable disturbance. Anything you need." "What I needed," I said, picking Lucas up. He was getting heavy, but I needed him close. "Was to find my son, who wandered out of our suite because someone," I gave him a look, "forgot the rule about not leaving without Dad." "The cake," Lucas whispered again, by way of explanation. "We'll discuss the cake later." I turned to leave. The crowd parted like the Red Sea, every eye on us. "Daniel, wait!" Regina's voice stopped me. She took a step forward, her earlier coldness replaced by something raw and frantic. Tyler tried to hold her arm, but she shook him off. You said you'd only ever love me. In this life, you said." The words tumbled out, messy and desperate, a stark contrast to her polished image moments before. I turned to look at her, really look at her. The society star, the brilliant businesswoman, clinging to a decade-old promise I'd made to a ghost. The ghost of the woman I thought she was before she jumped off that ship. "Regina," I said, and my voice held no anger, no bitterness, just a final quiet clarity. "That man died a long time ago, on a honeymoon cruise. You were there." The color drained completely from her face. She understood. She remembered the note, the sea, the lifetime we left behind. "I moved on," I continued, adjusting Lucas in my arms. He rested his head on my shoulder, watching her with quiet interest. "I found a love that doesn't require me to carry her camera, or beg for a yes, or compete with a ghost. A love that builds a home, not a shrine." I glanced at Tyler, who looked like he'd swallowed a lemon. "Congratulations on your engagement. Truly, I hope